For just a moment, imagine you're not where you are now. The screen in front of you fades away, the chair you're in disappears, and the world you know becomes a distant echo. A profound shift occurs, not just in your surroundings, but in your very sense of self. You wake up to the warm, dry air of the Mesopotamian plain, a pervasive warmth that feels baked into the earth itself. The air carries a complex tapestry of smells, the foundational scent of sun-scorched dust and clay, the comforting aroma of barley bread baking in countless household ovens, and the tantalizing, almost overwhelming fragrance of exotic spices, frankincense, myrrh, and cinnamon, wafting from a distant trade caravan or a temple incense burner. Your ears tune to a new frequency of life. You hear the constant, energetic chatter of a language you've never heard, a variant of Akkadian. Yet miraculously, you understand every word as if it were your own. This linguistic miracle is accompanied by the bleating of goats being herded through a nearby alley, the lowing of cattle, and the rhythmic, hypnotic chant of priests from a towering temple, their voices carrying across the city in the clear morning air. When you finally dare to open your eyes, you're not looking at a familiar ceiling, but at an endless, impossibly deep blue sky. You are lying on a simple mat, and you realize you are on a rooftop. As you sit up and look around, the rising sun illuminates the greatest city on earth, a sprawling metropolis of baked brick stretching out in every direction. Babylon. This isn't just a fleeting dream or a quick visit. In this reality, you are a citizen of Babylon during its absolute zenith, its golden age, under the long and prosperous reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II. This is the heart of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, the jewel of the ancient world, a time of staggering wealth, military might, and cultural renaissance. But what was it truly like to live at the center of this superpower? Beyond the legends and the biblical accounts, what was the texture of daily existence? Would you find yourself as a wealthy merchant, your fortunes tied to the caravans that connect the corners of the known world? Perhaps you would be a skilled craftsman, your hands shaping the very bricks and pottery that build and sustain this urban machine. Or would you be a tenant farmer, your life dictated by the sun and the river, working the fertile fields outside the city's massive walls? And what of the city's famed institutions, the towering temples, the ziggurat that seems to pierce the heavens, the intricate system of laws that governs every transaction and dispute? How would these monumental forces shape your day-to-day life? Would it be a life of unparalleled splendor and opportunity, a chance to be part of a civilization at its peak? Or would it be a life of constant, grinding hardship, a struggle for survival in a society of rigid hierarchies and stark consequences? Stick around, because we're about to descend from this rooftop, step into the sun-baked, bustling streets of Babylon, and discover in exhaustive detail what your life would have been like nearly 3,000 years ago. The sun, your only reliable clock, is still low on the horizon, but its rays are already beginning to assert their dominance. The city below is stirring, a low hum of activity that will soon swell into a roar. You've just spent the night sleeping on the flat, mud-brick roof of your house, a near-universal practice in Babylon. Almost everyone, from the modest artisan to the wealthy landowner, sleeps on their roof for much of the year. It's simply the most effective way to escape the suffocating heat that gets trapped within the thick-walled houses, and to catch any cooling breeze that might drift from the mighty Euphrates River, the city's lifeblood. Some of the wealthier folks have more elaborate setups. Their roofs might feature high privacy walls, a wooden trellis supporting a grape arbor for shade, or even decorative terracotta fixtures, but yours is more typical. A simple, open-to-the-sky extension of your home, shared with your family. You descend a narrow, steep internal staircase, feeling the air grow still and warm as you move into the core of your house. It's a typical Babylonian home, a design perfected over centuries, constructed from sun-dried mud bricks around a central, open-air courtyard. This courtyard is the heart of the home. It's where you get most of your light and virtually all your ventilation, since windows facing the incredibly narrow, winding streets are a rarity, both for privacy and to keep out the dust and heat. In one corner of the courtyard, your family keeps a few clucking chickens. Their sounds a constant soundtrack to your domestic life. You might have a small, raised garden patch here as well, a precious splash of green, perhaps some herbs or vegetables like cucumbers, onions, or leeks. In a world dominated by the brown and tan of earth and brick, most houses in this densely populated city are 1 or 2 stories tall, a practical, space-efficient design for urban living. The rooms branching off the courtyard are small and functional, with little in the way of furniture as we know it. The concept of high tables and chairs is foreign. You sit on woven reed mats or low 3-legged wooden stools. Meals are eaten from low tables, and your bed is a simple wooden or mud brick platform, perhaps topped with a mattress stuffed with wool, goat hair, or palm fibers. Storage consists of clay jars and wooden chests. In this world, family is everything. It is the absolute, unshakable center of your social and economic universe. You don't just live with your immediate family. You likely live in a dense cluster of homes with your aunts, uncles, and cousins. This extended family unit, known as a bitu, forms the fundamental building block of society. The idea of selling the family home is almost unthinkable, as it's not just a piece of property, but an ancestral trust, passed down from one generation to the next. This connection is made profoundly literal by the fact that the most personal items of all, the burial plots of your ancestors, are located right here, in brick-lined vaults or simple pits under the floor of your own home. To live in your house is to live among the spirits of your lineage, a constant physical reminder of your place in a long chain of being. So who are you within this powerful family structure? If you are the man of the house, the patriarch, your authority is clear and legally recognized. But if you're a woman, your life might be significantly less restricted than you would imagine from later historical periods. Babylonian women, particularly during this era of prosperity, possess a surprising number of rights. You can own and manage your own property, separate from your husband's. You can represent yourself in court, bringing lawsuits and serving as a witness. You can even run your own business, entering into contracts and managing enterprises from weaving workshops to taverns. A few women, typically from elite families, could become powerful and wealthy priestesses, wielding enormous religious and economic influence over temple estates. But for now, such matters are for later in the day. It's time for the morning meal. Your diet is simple but nutritious and surprisingly varied, thanks to the fertile land surrounding the city. The 2 absolute staples of your diet, the foods you can always count on, are barley and dates. You consume barley in some form with nearly every meal, most commonly as a coarse, unleavened flatbread. This morning you'll have this bread with a handful of sweet plums, or figs from your small garden or the market, and perhaps a piece of cheese made from goat's milk. For the wealthy, wine is an available luxury, often imported. For you and the vast majority of Babylonians, the daily drink is beer, also brewed from barley. It's not the light filtered beverage of the modern world. It's thick, cloudy, and nutritious, really more like a liquid food, and a fundamental source of calories. Most people eat 2 main meals a day, a quick, functional meal in the morning to start the workday, and a larger, more substantial meal in the evening with the family. This morning's meal is fast. There's a long, demanding day ahead, and the great city is already wide awake and waiting. The moment you pull open your simple wooden door and step out of your home, you are plunged into a sensory overload that defines urban life in Babylon. The alleyways in the residential quarters are incredibly narrow, unpaved, and twist and turn in a labyrinthine maze that only a local could navigate with confidence. The tall, largely windowless walls of the mud brick houses rise up sheer on either side, creating deep canyons that offer some respite from the direct sun, but also trap the heat and smells. You notice that the corners of many buildings are rounded, a clever and practical design feature to prevent them from being chipped and scraped by the pack animals, donkeys laden with goods, that are the primary mode of transport in these tight confines. There is no formal sanitation system as we would understand it. People simply throw their household waste, including food scraps and broken pottery, directly into the street. Periodically, the city authorities will mandate that a fresh layer of clay and earth be laid down to cover the accumulated refuse. This ongoing process has caused the street level to rise slowly but inexorably over the centuries. Consequently, the entrances to some of the oldest houses are now a step or two down from the road, a visible stratigraphy of daily life. The air is therefore thick with a complex and potent blend of smells. The ever-present dust from the unpaved streets, the smoke from thousands of cooking fires using wood or dung for fuel, the sharp, pungent scent of animal dung from the donkeys and goats, and a pervasive, damp, organic smell from the network of canals that crisscross the city, serving as both transportation arteries and open sewers. As you make your way through the maze, you pass the homes of every stratum of society, all living together within the city's protective walls. You see the modest dwellings of fellow artisans and laborers, the slightly larger homes of merchants, the residences of priests attached to local shrines, and the houses of soldiers. Even the farmers whose fields are miles away live inside the city. The security offered by the walls is paramount in a world of potential conflict. You are heading toward the processional way, the grand central artery of Babylon. As you get closer, the cramped alleys begin to widen, the buildings become more substantial, and you emerge onto a grand boulevard that is an absolute marvel of ancient engineering and a source of immense civic pride. The road is meticulously paved with large polished slabs of white limestone and, in certain sections, a striking red breccia. These stones are set in bitumen, the sticky black tar that bubbles up from the ground in natural deposits throughout Mesopotamia. This paving makes the road smooth for processions and durable against the elements. But it is the walls lining the processional way that will truly take your breath away, no matter how many times you have seen them. They are covered in brilliant jewel-toned glazed bricks, predominantly a deep, lustrous blue, meant to imitate the precious stone lapis lazuli. Marching along these blue walls in stunning raised relief are about 120 lions, their bodies rendered in yellow and red glazes. The lions are the sacred symbol of the goddess Ishtar, the powerful deity of love, fertility, and war. They are depicted mid-stride, muscles tensed, mouths open in a silent roar. They are so vibrant and powerful that they seem about to leap from the walls and join you on the street. At the northern end of this magnificent road stands the culmination of this architectural splendor, the massive Ishtar Gate. This towering double gate structure, estimated to be over 12 meters, 38 feet high, is also completely covered in the same brilliant blue glazed bricks. It is decorated with repeating tiered rows of powerful beasts in raised relief. Here you see dragons, the Mushushu, a composite creature with the head and scales of a snake, the forelegs of a lion, and the hind legs of an eagle, which are the symbol of Marduk, the chief god of Babylon. You also see aurochs, the fierce wild bulls that are the symbol of the weather god Adad. The gate is one of 8 major gateways into the inner city, a monumental statement designed to overwhelm visitors with its beauty and to remind every Babylonian of the immense power of their city, their king, and their gods. But you are not passing through the gate today to leave the city. You are turning off the Grand Avenue, heading towards the bustling market district to earn your living. Your entire life, your status, your daily routine, and your future prospects are defined by your job. The economy of Babylon is a colossal and intricate machine fueled by 3 main engines: the rich agricultural surplus from the surrounding plains, the extensive trade networks that make the city a global crossroads, and the diverse skills of its many workers. So, what is your role in this vast engine? Perhaps you are a farmer, Though you live within the city walls for safety, your life is tethered to the fields that stretch out beyond them. Every morning you undertake the long walk out to your plot of land. This land is made incredibly fertile by a massive state-maintained network of canals that meticulously channel water from the Euphrates River, turning a semi-arid plain into a breadbasket. Your primary crop, the one that feeds the empire, is barley. You also cultivate wheat, sesame for its oil, and a variety of vegetables like chickpeas, lentils, and onions. A significant part of your work involves the care of date palms, a truly miraculous plant that provides you with sweet, high-energy fruit, wood for small construction projects, and strong fibers for making rope. The work is physically punishing, performed with simple tools like a wooden plow, a bronze or iron sickle, and a water-lifting device called a shaduf. All under a blazing, relentless sun. You are most likely a tenant farmer, not owning the land yourself, but working a plot owned by the king, a wealthy government official, or one of the great temples. A significant share of your harvest, a precisely calculated percentage, is paid as rent, forming the foundation of the empire's wealth. Or maybe you are an artisan, a skilled craftsperson whose work is visible everywhere in the city. You could be a potter, your hands expertly shaping the abundant clay from the riverbanks into the essential items of daily life. Large jars for storing grain and beer, smaller jugs for water, bowls for eating, and most importantly, the ubiquitous clay tablets that serve as the society's paper. Or you might be a weaver. Wool is one of Babylonia's most crucial commodities, and the process of cleaning, spinning, and weaving it into textiles for both local use and international trade is a massive industry, often undertaken by women working in large workshops or within their own homes. Perhaps you are a brickmaker, a profession of fundamental importance. Every single building, from your humble one-story house to the soaring ziggurat, is constructed of brick. You spend your days mixing mud with straw as a binding agent, pressing the mixture into wooden molds, and leaving the bricks to bake hard in the sun. For the city's most prestigious buildings, like the Ishtar Gate and the Processional Way, some bricks undergo a special, secret process of glazing. This complex technique, a guarded craft, transforms the dull, brown clay into vibrant, colored glass, capable of lasting for millennia. But if your work is not with your hands, but with your mind, then you are a scribe, a member of a small, highly respected and elite group that has mastered the complex art of cuneiform, the wedge-shaped writing of Mesopotamia. Your education was long and arduous, spent in a school called an adaba, or tablet house, where you memorized hundreds of signs and learned the intricacies of Sumerian and Akkadian. You are absolutely essential to the functioning of this complex society. You record everything: business contracts, marriage agreements, legal judgments, royal decrees, religious hymns and myths, and even the precise movements of the stars and planets. We know so much about your life today, precisely because of the tens of thousands of durable clay tablets you and your fellow scribes meticulously wrote and preserved in archives. Or perhaps you are a merchant, a key player in the high-stakes game of international trade. Babylon's strategic location makes it a vital crossroads between the civilizations of the East and West. You facilitate the exchange of Babylonia's agricultural surplus, barley, dates, and sesame oil, and its high-quality woolen textiles, for the resources the empire lacks. You trade for strong cedar wood from the Levant, copper and tin from Anatolia to make bronze, precious metals from the mountains of Iran, and exotic spices from the distant lands of Arabia. You do not use coins, as they have not yet been invented in this part of the world. Instead, all commerce is conducted using a standardized system of weights, with coils or pieces of silver being the primary measure of value. When you finalize a deal, you don't simply shake hands. You summon a scribe to draw up a detailed contract on a fresh clay tablet, which is then sealed in a clay envelope and impressed with the cylinder seals of all parties and witnesses. It is a surprisingly modern and robust system of business based on written, legally binding agreements. Ironically, no matter what you do, you are a cog in a clearly stratified society. At the absolute pinnacle is the king, seen as the chosen steward of the god Marduk on earth. Below him are the high priests and priestesses, powerful nobles, and top military officials. Then comes the class of free citizens, the Oelim, who are landowners and professionals like yourself. Below you are the Muskanim, who are also free but generally landless commoner. At the very bottom of the social ladder are slaves, the wardom. However, in Babylon, slavery is not always a permanent, inherited condition. While many slaves are prisoners of war, many others are Babylonians who have fallen into debt and must serve as slaves for a period of time to pay it off. Slaves are considered valuable resources and are not typically worked to death. Your social class is critically important. It determines not just your wealth and lifestyle, but how you are treated under the law. A dispute erupts in the market square. Two merchants are shouting, their argument over a shipment of grain escalating. One claims the grain is of inferior quality, the other insists it meets the contract's terms. How is this conflict resolved? Not with violence, which is severely punished, but with the full force of the law. You have likely heard of the famous Code of Hammurabi, a set of 282 laws carved onto a towering pillar of black diorite. By your time, during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II, that pillar is a revered, 1,000-year-old artifact from a past dynasty. It is not the active law book of your city, however its spirit, its fundamental principle, that justice should be written, standardized, and applied by the state, is deeply ingrained in your culture. The famous concept of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, still echoes in how people perceive fairness, even if its application has evolved. In your day-to-day life, justice is not administered from a single code, but through a complex functioning system of royal decrees issued by the current king, deeply entrenched local customs, and the decisions of assemblies and judges. If those two merchants cannot resolve their dispute, they take their case to a court. This might be a local assembly of elders, known as the Peru, or it could be a panel of royal judges who often hold court in a chamber near the city gate. The principle of innocent until proven guilty is a cornerstone of the system. Each man will present his side of the story, but words alone are not enough. Evidence is paramount. The clay tablet containing their original contract will be produced. Witnesses to the agreement or the delivery will be called to testify under oath to the gods. If you bring an accusation against someone and fail to prove it, you could face a harsh penalty yourself, a powerful deterrent against frivolous claims. The punishments, should one be found guilty, can be severe and are designed to maintain order in a massive, densely packed city without a large, formal police force. The consequences are stark and serve as a powerful public example. Fines paid in silver are common for property disputes, but physical punishment, forced labor, or even death can be prescribed for more serious offenses like adultery or treason. The law touches every aspect of life, especially the family. Marriage is not merely a personal or religious union. It is a formal legal contract, typically arranged between the fathers of the bride and groom. A price is often paid by the groom's family to the brides, and in return, the bride's father provides a dowry. Siriktu. This dowry, which could consist of property, slaves, or silver, legally remains the woman's property throughout the marriage, providing her with a crucial measure of financial security in case of divorce or her husband's death. Divorce is permissible but is also a legal process, requiring the return of the dowry and often financial penalties depending on who initiated the split. The law also extends to professional accountability with a terrifying clarity. The concept of malpractice is very real. If a builder constructs a house with poor materials or shoddy workmanship and it collapses, causing the death of the owner, that builder could be put to death. If the collapse kills the owner's son, The builder's son could be executed. It is a brutal, direct system of justice, but it creates a society where everyone understands the rules and the incredibly serious price of violating them, ensuring a high degree of public order and professional responsibility. As the long workday draws to a close and the oppressive heat of the day begins to recede, what do you do with your time? For you, there is no sharp division between the secular and the religious. Faith is woven into the very fabric of your existence. You worship a vast pantheon of gods and goddesses who control every aspect of the world. Some are personal or family gods, honored in small shrines within your home's courtyard with daily offerings. But the great gods of the state, the ones whose power shapes the destiny of the empire, are revered by all. The most important of all, the undisputed king of the gods, is Marduk, the patron deity of Babylon itself. His rise to supremacy in the pantheon mirrors Babylon's rise to supremacy on earth. Other major deities include Ishtar, the formidable goddess of love and war, Adad, the god of storms and rain, Shamash, the sun god and dispenser of justice, and Nabu, the god of wisdom and the patron of scribes. At the geographic and spiritual heart of your city lies the Asagala, a vast temple complex dedicated to Marduk. The name itself means temple whose top is lofty. This is not a single building, but a sprawling compound with massive courtyards, intricate chambers, workshops, and administrative offices. And next to it, soaring into the sky and dominating the city skyline, is its ziggurat, a massive solid-step pyramid named Ethaminanki, which translates to the foundation of heaven and earth. It stands over 300 feet tall, a man-made mountain of millions of baked and unbaked bricks, with a shrine at its very peak. You believe this structure is a literal, physical connection between the terrestrial world and the celestial realm of the gods, a tangible axis mundi. As an ordinary person, you are forbidden from entering the inner sanctums of the temple. Access to the Holy of Holies, where the cult statue of Marduk resides, is reserved exclusively for the highest-ranking priests and priestesses and the king. But the temples are far more than just places of worship. They are immense economic powerhouses. They own vast tracts of agricultural land, employ thousands of people, from farmers to weavers to brewers, run their own workshops, and function as major centers of wealth and administration, almost like parallel palaces. The single greatest religious event of the year, a spectacle that involves the entire city, is the Akitu, or New Year Festival. This is an elaborate 12-day celebration held in the spring, coinciding with the barley harvest. It is a time of profound ritual significance, celebrating the renewal of the cosmos and commemorating Marduk's mythical victory over the primordial sea dragon of chaos, Tiamat. The highlight for you is the grand procession, where the statues of Marduk and other major gods are carried out of their temples and paraded with great ceremony along the processional way through the Ishtar Gate and to a special festival house outside the city. This is one of the very few times during the year that you get to lay eyes on the divine images. The festival also includes a fascinating and vital ritual involving the king. On one of the days, the king is brought before Marduk's statue in the Esagila. There, the high priest temporarily strips him of his royal regalia, his crown, scepter, and mace, and slaps him hard across the face. Hard enough, it is hoped, to make him cry. If tears fall from the king's eyes, it is taken as a sign that the god Marduk is pleased with his servant and has officially approved his rule for another year. But what about an ordinary evening? One without such high drama. You might head to a local tavern, a bidzakari or house of beer, for a clay jug of the thick barley beer you and your neighbors drink daily. These taverns are the social hubs of the neighborhoods. Here you can listen to musicians playing on harps, lyres, and drums, or perhaps hear a traveling storyteller recite verses from the great epic of Gilgamesh, the sprawling tale of a legendary king's quest for fame, friendship, and immortality. It's where you catch up on local gossip, make informal business deals, and simply unwind from the labors of the day. For the elite, of course, the evening might offer an experience of an entirely different order, something truly spectacular. If you were a high-ranking member of the royal court, a foreign diplomat or favored guest of the king, you might be granted the unimaginable privilege of seeing the legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Ancient writers from outside Mesopotamia would later describe them as one of the 7 wonders of the world, a breathtaking testament to royal power and romantic devotion. The story, passed down for generations, is that Nebuchadnezzar built this marvel for his wife, Queen Amytis. She was a princess from Media, a mountainous land to the east, and was said to be deeply homesick for the green hills and lush valleys of her homeland. So the king, in a grand gesture of love, decided to build a man-made mountain for her in the heart of the flat, sun-baked Mesopotamian plain. But here lies one of history's greatest enigmas. Despite the detailed descriptions from later Greek and Roman authors, Babylonian texts from the time, including Nebuchadnezzar's own extensive inscriptions boasting of his building projects, never mention them. Archaeologists excavating the ruins of Babylon have never found definitive proof that the gardens actually existed in the city. This has led some scholars to believe they were a beautiful myth, while others suggest the story became confused, and the gardens were actually located in the Assyrian city of Nineveh. Assuming the legends are true, and they did grace your city, they were not hanging by ropes. The Greek word kremastos more accurately means overhanging, as in a terrace or balcony. The gardens were likely a series of ascending tiered terraces, built upon a substructure of tall stone arches, creating the appearance of a verdant green mountain covered in trees. Imagine walking up the stone ramps of these terraces. You would be surrounded by an astonishing variety of trees, shrubs, and flowering vines brought from every corner of the vast empire. A cascading curtain of green that would seem to float in the air, a cool, fragrant oasis in a dusty city. Lists of plants from royal gardens of the era suggest you might have seen cedar trees, alongside edible plants like garlic, dill, and coriander. How would such a thing even be possible in this hot, dry climate? The engineering required would have been nothing short of miraculous. To prevent water from seeping through and destroying the mud brick structure, the terraces would have to be waterproofed with layers of reeds, natural bitumen, and possibly even sheets of lead. To get water to the top, one theory suggests a chain pump, a remarkable device with buckets affixed to a continuous chain turned by laborers or animals that would continuously lift water from the Euphrates River far below. Maintaining this man-made ecosystem would have required a constant, monumental effort. To walk through these gardens at dusk would be to experience an overwhelming sense of power. Looking down from the highest terrace, you would see the entire sprawling city spread out below you. The grid of canals, the temple towers, the endless rooftops. The gardens were more than just a beautiful park. They were a potent symbol of a king so wealthy and so powerful that he could defy nature itself, bending it to his will to create a paradise on earth. All for the love of his queen. It's a world away from the crowded, dusty streets below, and a stark reminder of the vast, unbridgeable gulf between the lives of the rulers and the ruled. Your day in the golden age of Babylon is drawing to a close. You've walked its streets, worked in its economy, and stood in awe of its gods. You have seen how an entire civilization, one of the most influential in human history, was built on a complex interplay of order, commerce, and profound faith. This civilization, in its triumphs and its daily routines, has shaped our modern world in countless ways, from our fundamental concepts of written law and justice to our very methods of measuring time and our knowledge of the stars. If you enjoyed this immersive journey back in time and want to explore more of history's most incredible moments and civilizations, make sure you subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss a new exploration. We want to know where to travel next, so let us know in the comments which ancient civilization you would want to live in for a day. Your ideas and suggestions are the lifeblood of this channel and help us create more content that you want to see. And if you found this journey through Babylon enlightening, please give the video a thumbs up. It genuinely helps the channel reach more history enthusiasts like you. As deep night falls over the Mesopotamian plain, you make your way back through the quieter streets to your home. You climb the stairs to your rooftop once more, preparing for sleep under the open sky. The city's cacophony has faded to a low, distant hum, the collective breath of a sleeping metropolis. Above you, the sky is a revelation. Free from the light pollution of the modern world, it is a dome of pure black velvet, saturated with stars, so bright and numerous they seem almost close enough to touch. And you are not just looking at a beautiful sky, you are seeing a divine map, a celestial text. You are part of a culture that didn't just admire the heavens, but mastered the science of astronomy. At this very moment, in the highest levels of the Eteminyanki ziggurat, priests are observing and meticulously recording the movements of the planets, which you believe are your gods. Marduk, Ishtar. They are creating vast tables of data, developing mathematical models to predict their movements, and in doing so are laying the foundations for a science that will be passed down through the Persians, the Greeks, and eventually to the entire world. The way we still divide our hours into 60 minutes and our minutes into 60 seconds is a direct legacy of their base 60 mathematical system. To live in Babylon's golden age is to live a life of profound and ever-present contrasts. It is a life of grueling physical labor set against a backdrop of breathtaking architectural beauty. It is a life strictly governed by a rigid social order and unforgiving punishments, but one that also offers incredible opportunities for commercial success, intellectual discovery, and legal protection. You are a small but essential component in a massive, efficient, and well-oiled machine. A citizen of a city that genuinely and unshakably believed it was the center of the known universe. Your individual life might be short and your daily comforts few, but you are a Babylonian. And in being so, you are a living part of a monumental legacy, one that would continue to echo through the corridors of history long after the last magnificent glazed brick of your incredible city had crumbled into dust.